What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL Seal video. So today we have the second video in my mini series. The last video I made was about the goalkeepers. This one is about the defenders from Game Week 17 to Game Week 22 that you could target on your wildcard. If you do enjoy today's video and if you enjoy the goalkeeper video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel to help us grow the community. Without further ado, let's get into it. So as you can see here, here's the fixture ticker. Again, took it away from Fantasy Football Hub, so check them out if you want to. Best fixtures for the defense. This is lined up for and sorted by defense, so the most likely to keep the most clean sheets and stuff like that. So it's very relevant, and it's a bit different from the one that you saw in the goalkeeper video. That was by points, that for the whole team, not fantasy wise. This is defense. So Chelsea, Man United and Southampton come out on top for that. Man City are 4th and Fulham 5th. Wolves, Liverpool and Arsenal have the worst fixture. I don't want to show you guys that, but if you want to check that out, you can just check it out on their page or on the FPL page itself. But you can see the Chelsea fixtures. They have a double game week coming up, starting off with two fairly decent fixtures. Man United have 3 very nice fixtures before having a difficult run against Man City, Arsenal, and then of course Crystal Palace, which you never know what team you're going to get. Southampton, I wouldn't really be targeting them. Maybe for your 5th defender, someone cheap that you could go with, but it's mainly that from 19 to 22 that they have a decent fixture run. Nottingham Forest, Everton, Aston Villa and Brentford, but Brighton and Fulham I think are quite difficult and will probably score against them. Man City have Leeds and Everton, then of course that double game against Man United and Tottenham, Chelsea in between those games. So I think, you would probably want to target the Man United defense, at least have one of those defenders, maybe one Chelsea defender or Kepa in goal. I'd probably have a City defender in there. I think that'd be a decent option for you, but otherwise it's sort of, who do you think is going to hit form? I put Reece James, of course, as you can see in the photo, because you might want to target him at Chelsea. Maybe you want to double up on their defense, but that's up to you. So here we have the defenders who have been, who have the best expected points from Game Week 1 to Game Week 16. Kieran Trippier costs 5.9, so CP is just current price, and then you have the points next to that. So his current points are 96, so he is way ahead of his expected points. It's expected that he should have about 64 points. He's got 96. That is a lot more. Gabriel Magalhaes is next. He's the Arsenal defender, of course, has about 61 points, but he has 72, so another overachiever. Fabian Schär has 57, about 58 points. He's got 67 in real life, another overachiever. Now, Cancelo's next, 56 points. He's got 70. So every single player on this list is overachieving, except for Dyer and Diaz, the 6th and 7th defender on the list. So Dyer has 50 points, so he's expected to have 3 more points than he's already got. And Diaz has a whopping 40 points, which is 13 points less than expected. So maybe Diaz is the one you should be targeting for points. Very unlucky for Diaz owners there, should have had more. Now the best for XGI, so expected goal involvement. So this is basically the goals that they're expected to get and the assists they're expected to get. How close can they get into the involvement of the goal? Trent Alexander-Arnold, the one who we think has been very disappointing this season. Player with only 40 points, started the season at 7.5. He's now 7.2 million if you want him. Has the highest XGI. So he has the highest expected goal involvement out of all the defenders in the game. So maybe he is someone we should be looking at for our wildcards. Now Trippier is next, with 4.3. That's fairly decent and not far behind Trent, but his value is a lot less. Perisic 4.2, close to Trippier. He's 5.5 million. He's got 45 points in real life. And then there's a huge drop off towards Robertson, who's next in line with 2.5. He's got 43 points and he's 0.4 cheaper than Trent. So maybe if you want to go with a Liverpool defender, you should go with Robertson. But is it worth the savings? Is it worth the 0.4 savings to have Robertson instead of Trent? I'm not sure. Not when you look at that drop off. 2.5 for Robertson, 4.6 for Trent. Trent just looks a lot more threatening. He has some corners. Robertson has corners as well. He has the free kicks. He's very involved in the attack. And if they can get Salah and Trent going, Liverpool might be cooking again. So here we have the best defenders for predicted points. Cancelo is expected to get the most, and just like Ederson in the last video, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, it's probably just because of the Man City defense. They have great stats, and they're expected to keep clean sheet basically in every game. It's just they're so good. But he is 34.5 points. He's expected to get 34.5 points, while James is 28.7. Then it's Trent 28, and down the list it goes. Now Kyle Walker has 27.5, and I wonder, can we go with Walker instead of Cancelo and save some money and maybe invest elsewhere in our squads? I mean, that's something that I will be looking to do, because Cancelo has been quite disappointing, in my opinion. The fact that him and Trent aren't the highest scoring, FPL defenders. It's just disappointment, because they are the most expensive ones. Then, of course, Thiago Silva, Akanji, and Robertson, finally 7th. Now, I don't expect a lot of people to go with Thiago Silva. Akanji for 5 million might be a little bit of a shout, but I'd rather go with Kyle Walker, mainly because there's also rotation for the centre-back places. They have Laporte, they have Diaz, so you don't know what you're going to get there. So the best defenders for 3.8 to 4.5. Botman, I put him first. He's a Newcastle defender. If you don't have Trippier, Botman might be your choice. Patterson for 4 million is a relatively good asset to have. Bueno, 3.9. If Lopetegui can really, shore up that Wolves defense, and that's the reason I just decided to put Bueno number 3, because we don't know if he's going to keep his place. He was fairly nailed until the World Cup, until the the latter stages of the first half of the Premier League season, but we don't know if Lopetegui is gonna rate him as highly as Bruno Lage did. So I'm expecting, maybe that's a wait and see. He could be your 5th defender on the bench and just throw him out whenever you're ready. But Patterson plays for Everton, and right now, I mean, he's looked really good. I mean, they've both looked really good for the price. And but I think Wolves are a better defensive side than Everton, and now that they're getting a very experienced manager, if Bueno can nail his side, that his place in the side, 100% go with him. Perot is in there, and Webster as well, just to fill up that list. The Brighton defender in Webster, I'm not keen on him. I'm not keen on Perot either. Just I think Perot is very attacking in that down on the side, and just wanted to shout him out to you if you want a little bit of a differential player. So now we're getting into more juicy stuff. Best defenders for 4.6 to 5 million. I've put Kyle Walker number 1, and that is because of the insane value he represents. He was fairly nailed under Pep Guardiola for 4.8 million now, because he got injured. He's only got 23 points. If he didn't get injured, I believe he would have 50-something points, possibly 60-something, with all those clean sheets that City seem to, have the potential to get. I would put him as your number 1 target in this category, especially if you're considering going without Cancelo. Now, second, we have Ben White, 4.7 million, 66 points. I think he is a really decent option. You could rotate him with Walker. You could rotate him with a Man United defender, with Castagne. They're all very similarly priced. Maybe have those as your 3rd or 4th defenders. And then one of those budget options that I just went over as your 5th one. And then maybe 1 or 2 premium defenders. That might be the way to go on this wildcard. But Castagne, the king, is next up. I couldn't make this list without Castagne. 65 points, 4.7 million. Insane value in him if you got on him early. If you have him 4.4, you might just want to consider keeping him. Leicester have decent fixtures, and Castagne seems to he's just like Trippier, getting substituted early, getting that clean sheet, and then it's wiped out. It's insane. I put Luke Shaw ahead of Diogo Dalot. Now, bear with me here. You might think I'm just tuning out and turning off this video. Don't do that. Let me explain. So, Shaw, even though he has 19 less points than Dalot, he has also played a lot less games. He's got 2 assists, while Diogo Dalot only has 1. And when looking at their stats, Diogo Dalot has more goal threat, but Luke Shaw has a lot more assist threat. So he is a lot more exciting regarding the assist. He is also a lot more differential. A lot more people can go with Diogo Dalot because it's the easy choice. But Luke Shaw didn't start the season. He came into the team, won his place back from Alasia, has been nailed on since then. He's got 2 assists. Diogo Dalot only has 1. He's got the corners. He's been taking some free kicks. He has a lot more assist potential. while Diogo Dalot, like I said, has more goal threat. It's just, who do you want? It's kind of a 50-50. I like Luke Shaw as a differential punt, but only just a little bit ahead of Diogo Dalot. Now, I put Cresswell in there for the West Ham team. He has some free kick duties. He has corner kick duties. He is very attacking with that West Ham team. If they can shore up their defense, he's going to be insane value for 4.8 million. Cresswell has not got an assist yet. He has not got a goal yet. But West Ham have been struggling a lot, and he's only got 3 clean sheets. But he's been nailed in that West Ham side. And this is a player who last season scored 115 points. The season before that, 153 points. And he has more 100 plus point seasons in his career. 2020-2021 season, he has got 11 assists. So looking at that, he has insane value. You know, he has insane potential to provide good value for 4.8 million. Now, Luca Dean, the troll, is in 7th place for me. Again, these are my rankings, but that is only because he is 4.6. I think Unai Emery will shore up that Villa defense a lot better than Gerrard did. He might have some corners. He will be very offensive, looking at how Emery wants to play, and he'll have some free kick duties, like we saw against Man United when he scored that brilliant goal. Might be shrewd business just to get on him early, get on that Aston Villa train, and see what happens. Worst case scenario, there's a lot of good defenders around that price that you can go to. So the best defenders for 5.1 to 5.9. So in here we have Trippier, the Newcastle United defender, 96 points, 5.9 million right now. He's in most sides, and I think after the wildcard he's going to be in most sides. Not much to say really. He's overachieved, and Newcastle have overachieved, I think, this season. But I don't see anyone stopping them so far, so maybe he's the go-to defender. Now, Reece James is second on this list in my opinion. There's not a lot of options in this bracket, in this price bracket, so the reason I put Reece James in there is because we know what he can do. We know what he is capable of. Had he not got injured, I think he would have been on fire and he would have been in most sides, and this would not even be a question. But the fact that Reece James at 5.8 million might be a differential, I see huge upside. But of course, he's injury prone and we don't know how he's going to return from the injury. That's always the risk, but there's also huge upside if you're willing to take that risk. Now third, we have Gabriel, 5.2 million current price, 72 points. I had to have an Arsenal defender in there. He looked really good. His goal threat is decent. I just think, he's cheaper than Saliba. They're both nailed on in that Arsenal defense. So if you want an Arsenal defender, you're not going with Ramsdale in goal. Maybe Gabriel's the man. Maybe White's the man. I would probably go White ahead of Gabriel, but that's my choice. Now finally, we have Perisic, 5.5. I mean, if he were nailed on for minutes, he'd be a lot higher on this list. Like, let's say he was nailed in that Tottenham lineup, I would put him second behind Trippier. But he is not nailed for minutes. He does really well when he plays. He's very threatening. He delivers a lot of FPL points, but he's just not nailed enough to go into my team. And I think you have to take that with a pinch of salt. He is a minute risk, but a very good player nonetheless. And finally, we have the premiums. I've put Cancelo as the number 1, but that's only because the Man City defense is so good. And by the way, these are all the premiums in the game right now. Cancelo, TAA, Robertson and Van Dijk. The Liverpool defense has not looked that good this season, but I put TAA above Robertson because of what we saw before. 4.6 goal involvement, while Robertson only has 2.5. To me, I know Robertson has more points, and it looks like Robertson should be the pick because he's also cheaper and all that. But the stats still seem to point to TAA, so I'm going to put that right there. The TAA is second on the list. And even though Cancelo is, in my opinion, very disappointing for that amount of money we have, the Man City defense is so good. So he gets number 1 spot. Trent gets number 2. And Robertson number 3 because he's a fullback and very threatening. Van Dijk, who's played, I think, every single minute for Liverpool this season or something ridiculous. He's just about edging Robertson and Trent, who both have been missing for parts of the season. So had they played all games, they would have had more points than Trent. So I don't think it's even a question who you should be going for. So the overall ranking, how do I rank these guys? Like, if I had unlimited budget, I'd probably go Trippier, James, Cancelo, Trent and Shaw in my team. So this would allow me to have a Chelsea defender, a Newcastle defender, a City defender, a Liverpool defender, and a Man United defender. They're all really good options. Taking a punt on Shaw is really decent. You could have this defense quite easily. You'd have to make some sacrifices in attack, but you could still have this defense, and there might be huge upside for it. If you still think big at the back is the way to go, this might be your shot at that trophy. There's not much left to say about this. I think it's just they're very good defenders. We know what they've done in the past. It's just a question, can they do it this season? Trippier, of course, can he continue his form? It all remains to be seen. Now finally, my potential picks for Game Week 17. This is the thing that I'm thinking about. Trippier, Walker, White, Shaw, or Dalot, and Bueno. Now, this could all change. When I recorded this video, I was thinking like White and Shaw could rotate for that third spot in defense. Bueno always on the bench, and then the other one of those two would be on the bench, and Walker and Trippier would just start every game. And if Walker gets rotated, which could happen, I throw White, Shaw, or Bueno in, you know. But I'm not 100% sure about this. But the reason I'm thinking about it is because they look good for minutes, they're cheap and allow for more funds in attack. Like, none of them are more expensive than 6 million. They have very decent fixtures. If anything, you have a benching headache. That might be the biggest minus in this, because you're always going to be benching one or two of them every game week, and that might be benching someone with a very decent fixture. But James is still in my thinking, but if I go for Kepa, I'm not overly keen on double Chelsea defense. Maybe I'll be more keen closer to Game Week 17, but these are my 5 defenders that I'm thinking about going with. But I've also made a draft where I still have Robertson and Cancelo in it, and I quite like that, so maybe it'll change. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel to help me grow the community. I hope you're enjoying this mini-series. I have 2 more episodes to go. One about the midfielders and then one about the attackers. Then we're probably going to go into some tactical videos and more drafts for Game Week 17 as we get closer and closer to Christmas, and of course the return of the Premier League. I hope you're as excited as I am. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time. Goodbye.